Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're gathering to tackle a topic that resonates deeply with so many of us. Stop doubting yourself. It's wonderful to see each of you here, set to explore new frontiers of self-discovery and empowerment. This isn't just about brushing aside your doubts with a fleeting thought. It's about fundamentally transforming how you see yourself and your capabilities. Self-doubt can be a persistent shadow that follows us through both our personal and professional lives. It whispers in our ears about not being good enough, smart enough, or just enough. But what if I told you that today marks the beginning of silencing that voice? Today we explore why we doubt, how those doubts shape our actions, and most importantly, how we can overcome them to lead a more confident and fulfilled life. Let's come along as we venture into this, shall we? Let's learn to replace the I can with I can, and I won't with I will. Because by the end of our time today, my hope is that you will walk away not just thinking but believing that you are more than capable of achieving greatness in your life. Imagine that you wake up one morning with the faint murmur of doubt whispering in your ear. It's subtle at first, almost like a shadow flitting across your thoughts. You shake your head, perhaps chuckle a little, and go about your day. But as the hours tick by, that whisper grows a tad louder, a bit more insistent. By nightfall, it's as if every step you take echoes with a voice saying, "Are you sure you can do this?" I see a lot of nodding heads and knowing smiles. It seems many of you have met this unwelcome visitor, haven't you? Let me tell you, you're not alone. Doubt is as universal as the air we breathe. But here's the twist. While we all breathe the same air, how we respond to that doubt can change everything. Today, right here, we're going to tackle this head on. We're not just going to talk about overcoming doubt. We're going to start the process, really begin it. Because believe it or not, the power to surpass your doubt, to truly believe in your ability to succeed, resides not in the hands of fate, but right here within each of us. Let me ask you, have you ever decided not to pursue an opportunity because you thought you weren't good enough? Perhaps you saw a job posting and thought, this is perfect. But then you scrolled down to the qualifications and thought, well, maybe not for me. What happened there? You allowed doubt to make the decision for you? But what if I told you that every time doubt speaks, it's actually fear disguising its voice? Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and yes, even fear of success. Because to succeed means to change, and change is the unknown. The unknown can be scary. So how do we combat this? We start with a simple yet powerful shift in perspective. Every time you face a decision and doubt creeps in, I want you to ask yourself a question, a very simple question. What would I do if I weren't afraid? Just think about it. What would you do right now if you weren't afraid of failing, of falling short, or of what others might think? This question isn't just rhetorical. It's a tool. It's a beacon that cuts through the fog of doubt and illuminates your path. And when you start answering this question honestly, you'll begin to realize just how many doors you might have closed in your face. Doors that could lead to paths filled with success and fulfillment. I understand that shifting perspective isn't an overnight miracle. It's a process. It's like planting a garden. You start with good soil, good seeds, your skills and your passions, then you nurture them, water them, and yes, sometimes you talk to them. What you don't do is stand over them, doubting if they'll grow. You give them what they need, you take care of them, and you watch them flourish. So are you ready to silence that whisper of doubt? Are you ready to believe in yourself as fiercely as you believe in the sunrise each morning? Because I am ready to embark on that challenge with you every step of the way. Let's turn that doubt into determination. Self-doubt, my friends, is more common than you might think. It's a sneaky, persistent feeling that creeps into your thoughts and actions, making you question your abilities, your decisions, and even your worth. If I could paint a picture of self-doubt, it wouldn't be a monstrous, scary beast. No, it'd be like a constant, nagging whisper, subtle but draining. It's that voice that speaks up just as you're about to step forward and says, "Are you sure you can do this?" Imagine you're at a meeting. You have a groundbreaking idea. You know, that kind of idea that could really get things moving. But just as you're about to speak up, that whisper comes, what if your idea is not that good? What if they laugh? So you swallow your words. The moment passes. And someone else speaks up, maybe even with a similar idea, and it's a hit. There you are, left with regret and wondering what might have been if only you hadn't doubted yourself. Or perhaps you're scrolling through job listings and you find one that lights a spark in you. It sounds perfect, right up your alley. But then you start reading through the qualifications. Doubt creeps in. Do I really have enough experience? Am I really capable? So you don't apply. You let that opportunity slip through your fingers because self-doubt convinced you not to try. Doubt doesn't just whisper in our professional lives. It's there in our personal lives too. Think about the last time you wanted to start a new hobby or perhaps a fitness regime. How many times did you tell yourself, I'll start on Monday? But when Monday comes, you think, well, maybe next Monday, because deep down, you doubt if you can commit or see results. It's such a cycle, isn't it? Where does all this self-doubt come from? It often stems from our fear of failure or fear of judgment. It's tied to our experiences, the feedback we've received, and the comparisons we make between ourselves and others. Social media doesn't help, does it? Everyone else seems to be living perfect lives, and here we are, struggling to make our own mark. What if self-doubt is actually a signal, not a setback? A signal that you're about to grow, to step out of your comfort zone. Every time you feel self-doubt, it could be because you're on the verge of doing something important, something meaningful. Think about it. You typically don't experience self-doubt when you're about to do something you're already good at, something within your comfort zone. It strikes when you're about to push boundaries, doesn't it? So we also need to start small. Doubt often wins because we think in all or nothing terms. We imagine the massive success or the crushing defeat. Instead, what if we start with a small step? Speak up just once in the meeting with a smaller idea. Apply for a job that stretches you a bit, not one that feels leagues away. Small successes can quiet that whisper, slowly turning self-doubt into self-confidence. And I promise you, each time you choose to act despite doubt, you're rewriting your story. You're turning the page on old fears and starting a new chapter, one where you're the hero who overcomes, not the one who succumbs to doubt. Remember, every person in this room has faced self-doubt, including me. But here we are together, ready to challenge it, ready to push past it. So, let's make a pact today, not just to fight our doubts, but to rise above them, to prove to ourselves that we have what it takes. Not just to dream, but to do. This thing where self-doubt comes from can be as tangled as walking through a thick forest. But let's simplify it today. There are invisible threads that tie your present doubts to past experiences and societal influences. Let's unravel these threads together. First, consider the roots of self-doubt that grow deep within our own psyche. Psychologically, self-doubt often sprouts from our natural inclination to appraise and judge our actions against an internal standard. This can be a good thing. It drives us to improve. But when these standards are unreasonably high, or when we constantly feel we fall short, this same mechanism feeds our self-doubt. It's like having a mental yardstick that always shows you're a few inches short, no matter how much you grow. This mental yardstick isn't formed in isolation. Think back to when you were a child, eagerly showing your parents a drawing or a school project. The response you received, whether it was excitement, indifference, or criticism, began to shape how you view your own abilities. If the praise was rare or wrapped in criticism, you might have started to believe that your efforts were never quite good enough. As adults, these feelings don't just disappear. They evolve into that persistent, nagging doubt. How do we begin changing this narrative woven by our psychology and our environment? Start by adjusting the internal and external dialogues. Internally, it's about changing the questions we ask ourselves. Instead of asking, why always me? We might ask, what can this teach me? This shifts the focus from a mentality of despair to one of learning and growth. Externally, it means being selective about the influences we let into our lives. It's okay to unfollow social media accounts that stir feelings of inadequacy, or to set boundaries in relationships that feed our doubts. Surround yourself with people and content that uplift you, that remind you of your potential, and celebrate your steps forward, no matter how small. I once met a man who grew up with a lot of criticism, which planted deep seeds of doubt in his mind. As an adult, he struggled to believe in his own worth. But instead of succumbing to this, he started writing down one small achievement every day. Pretty simple as making a phone call. He had been avoiding or trying a new recipe. Over time, this journal became a testament to his growth. It didn't just show his achievements. It highlighted his ability to overcome self-doubt, one day at a time. It begins with understanding the roots of your doubt, both internal and external, and then taking conscious actions to cultivate a garden of self-assurance. Plant new thoughts, nurture supportive relationships, and gradually, you'll see new beliefs about yourself bloom. Have you ever paused to consider the true impact of self-doubt? It's like a small leak in a dam that seems harmless at first, but gradually, it can cause the entire structure to crumble. Let's explore how self-doubt can quietly infiltrate our lives, affecting our personal growth, relationships, and professional opportunities. And what happens if we don't address it? Imagine you're setting goals, whether they're for personal development, like learning a new skill, or for professional achievements, like leading a project, or pursuing a promotion. Self-doubt creeps in subtly. It whispers, "Are you sure you can handle that? Or do you really think you're capable?" And just like that, it plants a seed of hesitation. You might find yourself setting the bar lower, not because you lack the ability, but because you doubt it. It's the immediate consequence. Your growth is stunted. You start to inhabit a smaller world than you're capable of living in. Opportunities for learning and advancement pass by unnoticed because you've built a safety net of low expectations around yourself. Think about this scenario playing out in your relationships. When you doubt your worth, how do you react to those closest to you? Often, self-doubt leads to dependency or withdrawal. You might cling to relationships out of fear of being alone, tolerating situations that aren't fulfilling or even healthy. Or perhaps you withdraw, assuming you're not wanted or valued. Both actions strain ties with friends, family, and partners. You might miss out on the depth and richness of close, supportive relationships because you're afraid to fully engage or assert yourself. Professionally, the impact of self-doubt can be particularly concrete. Let's say there's a chance to lead a new project, one that requires stepping into the spotlight or tackling unfamiliar challenges. Self-doubt can make you step back, letting others take the lead. Over time, this not only affects how others perceive your capabilities, but also how you perceive your own potential. You might begin to feel less competent, not because you are, but because you act as if you are. This can become a self-fulfilling prophecy where you no longer seek out challenges, thereby actually diminishing your skills and your professional reputation. It's the long-term effects. If self-doubt is not addressed, it can lead to a life of regrets. Regrets of not trying, not reaching out, not stepping up. Imagine looking back and realizing that the only thing standing between you and your dreams was your own hesitation. That's a significant burden to carry. More immediately tangible, continuous self-doubt can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, and even depression. It can become a cycle that's increasingly difficult to break. How do we start breaking this cycle? It begins with awareness, recognizing the moments when doubt influences your decisions. Next time you hear that whisper of doubt, pause and challenge it. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have that I can't do this? More often than not, you'll find the evidence points in the opposite direction. I once met someone who decided to challenge every doubt with an action. If he doubted his social skills, he'd make a point to strike up a conversation in a coffee shop. If he doubted his professional worth, he'd volunteer for a challenging task at work. This didn't just help him prove his doubts wrong. It built a new habit of stepping into his fears rather than stepping back. Over time, he transformed from someone who watched opportunities pass by into a leader who sought them out. We all have the potential to be that person. It doesn't require superhuman strength or an ironclad will, just a series of choices. Each time you choose to question your self-doubt, instead of accepting it, you reclaim a little bit more of your potential. Each small victory accumulates, building a stronger, more confident you. Remember, self-doubt is not a life sentence. It's merely a hurdle, and hurdles are meant to be cleared. With each leap, you gain strength until one day, you'll find you're no longer jumping hurdles. You're setting new paths where self-doubt has no place to take root. Have you ever considered how some of the most acclaimed figures in history overcame immense self-doubt to achieve greatness? It's a powerful reminder that even those who seem larger than life have faced and conquered their inner demons. Allow me to tell you a personal story of a friend of mine who might not be a historical figure, but whose journey is no less significant. He was a young man with a vision for a business that could change the way we interact with technology. But when he presented his idea, he was met with skepticism and rejection. He started doubting his capabilities and even considered giving up. Instead, he took a deep breath, refined his pitch, learned from the feedback, and tried again. Today, he runs a successful tech company because he refused to let doubt win. There was a time when I stood at a crossroads in my career. I had a stable job that offered security and comfort, but there was a voice inside me that urged me to pursue speaking and writing, to share my ideas about personal development with the world. The self-doubt was overwhelming. I thought to myself, who would want to listen to me? What if I fail? But then I remembered what I always tell others. To achieve what you have not, you must do what you have not. I took the leap, uncertain of where it would lead me. And that decision has brought me here before you today. What these stories share is a common thread. A turning point where each person confronted their self-doubt and decided to move forward, not because they were sure of success, but because they were sure of their desire to try. Each time they chose action over hesitation, they were forging their path through the dense forest of doubt that stands between all of us and our potential. So what can we learn from these stories? That doubt, while universal experience, doesn't have to be a roadblock. It can be a guidepost, pointing us to our fears and insecurities, not to stop us, but to challenge us to overcome them. Each story of success is also a story of great persistence through doubt and adversity. As we sit here today, think about what doubts are holding you back. What could you achieve if you decided to face them head on? Remember, the most critical step in overcoming self-doubt is the decision to begin. Start small, perhaps, but start. Take one actionable step towards your goal, regardless of the whispers of doubt. I encourage you to think of these stories not just as tales of past success, but as personal calls to action. Let them inspire you to write your own story of overcoming doubt. Let them remind you that on the other side of self-doubt lies a landscape rich with accomplishment and fulfillment. Doubt itself is nothing but a mental construct that we have the power to dismantle. We do this by choosing to believe in ourselves, by taking actions that affirm our capabilities, and by deciding to be the authors of our own lives, one brave chapter at a time. Affirmations. These are like the seeds you plant in your garden of thought. Affirmations are positive, present tense statements that you repeat to yourself, designed to challenge and undermine negative beliefs and to reinforce positive thinking. I am capable and competent. When you wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and say it out loud. Say it with conviction. Say it with belief. It might feel strange at first, but what you are doing is laying down a new layer of self-belief, a foundation upon which confidence can be built. I'd like to recount a tale about a young woman I once mentored. She doubted her ability to advance in her career due to a lack of formal education. We worked together, setting small goals, starting with her taking online courses, reading relevant materials, and gradually taking on more responsibilities at work. With each step, her knowledge and confidence grew. Last I heard, she received a promotion that she thought was beyond her reach. It wasn't just her skills that evolved. Her self-perception changed profoundly. Imagine for a moment, you're standing at the edge of a pool, toes curled over the edge, staring into the water. You know how to swim, but the water looks deep, maybe a little daunting. Now you have two choices. You can step back and wrap yourself in a towel, or you can jump in. Taking that jump is like facing a new challenge. It's about pushing past the hesitation and experiencing that moment of thrill as you dive into the unknown. That's where growth begins and where confidence is built. Let's talk about how stepping into new challenges can profoundly shape your confidence. Each time you decide to take on something new, you're essentially telling yourself in the world, I am capable. Think about the first time you tried something out of your comfort zone. Maybe it was riding a bike, driving a car, or presenting in front of a crowd. The nervousness before you started was real, wasn't it? But so was the pride and sense of accomplishment when you did it. That feeling is confidence in formation. Taking on new challenges doesn't just build confidence. It strengthens your problem-solving skills. It expands your experience, and it makes you more adaptable. Each new challenge you tackle is like adding a tool to your toolbox. The more tools you have, the more equipped you are to handle future challenges, thereby reducing future self-doubt. Each small achievement builds upon the last, and creating a ladder of success that elevates your self-esteem and belief in your abilities. Did you speak up in a meeting when usually you'd stay quiet? That's a win. Did you complete a project under deadline? Another win. Maybe you simply made a decision without second guessing. Yes, that's a win too. Here's a personal anecdote of mine. Early in my career, I was terrified of public speaking. Yes, me, who now stands confidently before you. My first talk was in front of just a handful of people, but to me it felt like a stadium. I stumbled through it, my voice barely above a whisper. But I did it, and then I did it again. Each time I got a little better. I started to recognize the small improvements. I spoke louder. I made eye contact. I actually got a few laughs. Each of those was a win for me, small in scale, but immense in their impact on my confidence. Something you can trigger. Keep a victory journal every day, no matter how your day goes. Write down one thing you achieved, one small win. It could be anything from trying a new recipe to asking a question in a seminar. Just over time, you'll see how many wins pile up, and reading them back will boost your confidence. It's also crucial to share your achievements with others. And sharing not only multiplies your joy, but also encourages others to look for their own small wins. We often focus on what went wrong in our day, not what went right. Let's flip that focus. Let's celebrate the wins, however small they may seem. Consider the progress we've made, the insights we've shared, and the strategies we've discussed to combat that pervasive whisper of self-doubt. Our journey today has not just been about acknowledging the existence of doubt, but about finding effective ways to rise above it, to truly embrace the vast potential each of us holds. We began by exploring the roots of self-doubt, understanding that it often stems from both our internal dialogues and the external pressures that shape our perceptions of ourselves. It's important to remember that self-doubt is not a reflection of inadequacy, but rather a common human experience that can be managed and transformed into a force for growth and self-discovery. We talked about the power of affirmations and positive thinking, how changing the narrative in our minds can change our lives. The words we speak to ourselves have power, the power to build us up or tear us down. Let's choose to use this power to fortify our spirits and fuel our aspirations. We examine into practical steps to confront and conquer self-doubt. Unifying our doubts, challenging them, setting achievable goals, celebrating every small victory, seeking feedback, and continually learning and growing. Each step is a step away from doubt and toward confidence. Now is the time to take what we've learned and you put it into action. Start today, start now. Choose one area where doubt holds you back and confront it. Set a small, achievable goal related to this challenge and take the first step. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting, joining a class to learn a new skill, or simply saying yes to an opportunity you might normally pass by out of fear. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start believing in yourself. Create that moment today. Every action you take builds your confidence a little more, and every bit of confidence helps silence the doubt a little more permanently. Let me leave you with this thus. The only limits to the possibilities in your life tomorrow are the buts you use today. Let go of the buts. Let go of the doubts. You are capable of more than you know. Thank you for sharing your precious time with me.